You're listening to Listen Up with Catalina Byrd, sitting in for Trey Lewis and our guest Joe Lorick. We're talking about credit, ways to stay out of the darkness, and if you found yourself there, how to get out of the red and back into the black. Our number is 410-319-8888. Now, you mentioned how to stay away. What kinds of course study do you not recommend taking out overwhelming student loans for?
Well, this is what I would say. First of all, you need to look at how much potential income you're going to make from your degree. Okay, because and also what matters is what your plan is for where you're going to work. Okay, if you get a doctor, if you get a PhD and you go to school and get a lot of debt and you live in Baltimore, you're likely to get a good job because you have so many major hospitals right here in this area. So it wouldn't be wrong to tell somebody not to go in debt for a doctor's, a PhD for med school, because that makes sense in Baltimore. But at the same time, if you went into a couple $100,000 in debt and a population of 1,000 in that town, and you plan on staying on that town, and pretty much that town already has a medical office set up and they really can't hire that many doctors, then you're going to have to relocate, and you may not have put that into your plans. So something that simple, but then it gets into something like, let's just say, an English degree. An English degree, while it does have some practical use, it's pretty difficult to get a job when you are competing with someone, well, let's say a business degree, and if you went into debt for the same amount and the same type of jobs are available to you, it may not have been a great decision at that time to go with that degree. So if you're in a situation where you're not sure, I would always suggest any student that's going into school to definitely look into a degree that's at least going to not cost them as much, and at the same time provide them with a likely income, a realistic income, because we may dream of coming out of college making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, but then we quickly find out, right, what the realistic salary is coming out of school for most, graduates.
And, one of the other things, and I'm happy you said that, because immediately when you said 1 in 1,000, I thought of Dr. Hollywood, Michael J. Fox, and certainly he wasn't making what Ben Carson makes at Johns Hopkins in that little town. In fact, I think some days he was doing things for beef stew and some other things in that movie.
Right.
And we don't want to discourage anybody from going to school. Are there credit-safe ways other than student loans to be able to offset that if your family necessarily can't help you and you still want to get the education in the field that you want to go into?
I'm glad you asked that. And certainly, of course, you have scholarships and you have different funds which will help fund school. But if you were an average student, okay, you're a person that you were smart, but you played around a little bit, you didn't get the grades where you can necessarily get a scholarship. What I think people have to get away from is looking at community college as like a taboo, like it's something that's just not right, because this is what community colleges does for you. If you go to an affordable community college, first of all, you research it. You find out whatever four-year institution that you want to go to, you can actually ask them what community college they would recommend and find out which ones they take credits from. That way, you can go there for 2 years. You probably can work or pay that out of pocket and find funding for that. And guess what? If you transfer to that four-year university after those 2 years, your degree is going to look the same whether you started at a community college or you didn't. So it's a very cost-effective way to still get your four-year degree and also to not go into so much debt for it if you can't get scholarships, if you can't get that funding. Of course, the number one way is to try to get scholarships, but I always advise people, look, community college is your second chance to go ahead and also do good and do well enough in community college where you may get a scholarship for a four-year institution.
Are we turning a corner where community college doesn't carry the stigmatism of you weren't smart enough to get into a real school? And those that can't see me, I'm doing the air quotes, because I remember community college, especially in the household I grew up in, was not considered an option. It meant that you hadn't worked hard enough in school.
Right.
Now we see the president encouraging people to go to community colleges to enhance their skills, even as continuing education for adults in whatever field they're already in. Are we turning a corner where we're starting to look at these community institutions as a real viable resource, equally as important as a Morgan State or Johns Hopkins, in a way that we hadn't 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Absolutely. And a part of that actually has to do with adults that are going back to school, because a lot of our parents before may have had that thought and actually passed that down a little bit. But with a lot of adults going back to school and actually going to community college, they're figuring out, okay, you know what, this is just an alternative, which helps me get somewhere else. And also we're learning more, and they're putting better advertisement and actually promoting themselves better so they can understand this is not the 13th grade. You know, this isn't just an extension of your high school.
That was one of the things that it would be
Right.
called. You know,
Right.
it was the 13th grade, and there was very much a stigmatism associated with it, even for athletes. For anybody.
Right.
Just it didn't matter what you were going in to study or what you were going in to do. And we've seen, especially here in Baltimore, them come together, have specialized programs in nursing for some instances, and things of that nature. And I'm starting to see more and more people go there, even leaving major institutions saying that they couldn't afford it, and they're getting the same and or better education at a community college.
Absolutely.
So it's something that, from a credit standpoint, can you still get financial aid to go to a community college?
Yes, you still can get financial aid, and especially also for people that are working that decided that, okay, I still had to earn money. A lot of employers will still go ahead and give you some type of benefit for going to school, and that includes community colleges.
Having